Everyone says, "Oh God, this is," and of course Stella from KXLU Stray who's essentially gonna, be our moderator and bang us over the head whenever we need to be banged over the head. So I guess we'll start. We're just talking and answering questions, and my whole thing is just that. See, I mean, I don't have the whole history, the pop history down of what people call punk rock or do it yourself or or whatever. I don't.
Rock and the pop narcotic.
Well, yeah, Carducci has that, and but I didn't approach it from being a fan of Kiss or Sabbath or anything like that. I was just, I grew up and there's a whole lot of different types of music, and and as you can see there, it's not a vanilla history, and neither is it for Mugger or Steve, and possibly and Joe probably. We'll talk about that. And there's just so many stories to tell about who we are, who we were, who we might be, and all of that stuff. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. So,
should we start from the beginning?
I'm not sure what the beginning is anymore, other than
look behind you.
We'll start with,
Can I start out? I'm spilling my wine. No, I would like to start out by I think if we can go around the room at the pictures, that he has, and I'm going to start off with in the corner over there is media art, right? And so we see media art, and what bands were recorded? What albums were recorded at media art, Spot?
You mean
punk rock?
Well, okay,
the ones that they would know of.
Well, okay, like Posh Boy was doing a lot.
Yeah.
Of stuff.
And Posh Boy did what?
Simple Tones. I think the Eyes. I'm not sure if the Plugs were part of that.
And the drummer just died, right?
Right,
yeah.
right. And
Charlie.
And they recorded Electrify Me. I didn't have anything to do with that, but.
But what did you do?
UXA.
UXA?
Yeah, UXA was.
Paranoia is freedom.
don't forget Red Cross.
Red Cross, yes.
Yeah.
The Crowd.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple Tones.
Yep.
And what did
Rick?
Rick
Yeah, Rick and Rick.
I just got back from the meat house.
Yeah. So all of that stuff was happening. But I mean, I was doing like a lot of. I had gotten bored with pop music for a long time in the 70s, and disco didn't do it for me. Most of the what became classic rock didn't do it for me, and I was, maybe the two songs that lasted for me were The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald and Disco Inferno. I think those were those summed up the 70s better than anything. So, but yeah, all these people were coming into media art to record, and most of the time it was, marginal rockers who were tired and they wanted to do pop stuff that was slower and more melodic and just nowhere near as interesting. And I was always fascinated whenever hard rock came in or jazz players came in. And those were the sessions that I really liked. And then there was this punk rock thing.
So which punk rock bands did you record or produce at Media Art?
Well, okay.
Albums.
Well, everybody knows.
Albums. Are they called albums now? What are they called?
LPs.
They're called apps.
Apps.
Apsums? Okay. Well, everybody knows about Black Flag and the Minutemen and
the albums. particular albums that they did there.
Oh,
With Black Flag, so they did Nervous Breakdown.
It wasn't an album.
wait a minute. There was,
You said album.
okay, well, just records. What was it? Jealous Again. There was the what is it? Nervous Breakdown single.
Yeah, Nervous Breakdown EP.
I actually didn't do that one, but I did. There was something I did in it, but I was not the main person. But then there was the Jealous Again. What was next? Six Pack.
Yeah, the six-pack single with Dezo.
Six Pack was done someplace
TV
else.
Party.
and-
No,
yeah.
TV Party was done in Hollywood at
You know what? It might have only been that Jealous Again.
Jealous Again?
Record might be the only one that was done there. I'm not sure. I'll have to. I mean, there was a lot of recording, and
Oh, you did side 4 of Everything Went Black, Crass Commercialism. That was you, right?
the commercials. Yeah, we did a lot of commercials.
I did that. I was on some of the. Anyway, so Baba Minutemen. There.
Paranoid Time and Punchline.
Wow. Sackland Trust.
I'm gonna have to check on that.
The first 2 meat puppets, were they there?
No.
I think they were done in Torrance, right?
Well, the first one was done at Unicorn. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then other stuff.
You don't like your wine, Stella?
You can have my wine if you want. It's very good, Mugger.
All right, Spot, the next, because if you guys want to go somewhere else, the next one is that picture of you roller skating.
Where?
Right over there. Is that you?
Who?
Over there in the
Oh, God.
on the room.
Actually, wait, there is a tangent between roller skating and media art that Spot told me about. Right? Spot, you used to promote, you were kind of the young guy at media art,
Oh gosh. Well,
and you would promote that studio to other studios in Hollywood.
yeah.
And the way you would get around would be,
Okay, well, in '77 I discovered roller skating. I had been working in the studio, and I had to get out of there. I had to escape for a while. I drove out of state, and then when I came back to media art, and suddenly we had a 16-track machine, and I was kind of suddenly again the low man on the totem pole. Went down to the Strand, and these guys had opened this roller skate rental shop, Wild Wheels, and so I started taking pictures of them and wrote an article about it for Easy Reader, and it was the first time I had roller skates on my feet, and there I'm taking pictures of all of this stuff, and they said, well, you get that article, you come down for free skates anytime you want. They said, okay.
whoa, you got hooked up.
Yeah, and suddenly it was like, I was, physically, I was keeping my. I had something to do physically, and it was the first time I was ever good at anything, sports-wise or physical-wise, and I just kept doing it. And there were lots of girls, and it was fun. And so Dave Tarling and Alan Glenn, they were both photographers. They kind of started the studio because, they never owed anybody money for their equipment. They were working out all these deals, taking pictures, product pictures, blah, 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 on and on and on. And when things started, we still didn't have a lot of business. Dave took some photos of the control room back there, and that's what you see. He took those control room photos.
Dave who?
Dave Tarling, who did...
Slip it in.
No, he did Nervous Breakdown.
Oh,
He did the Nervous
he did
Breakdown.
one. He did a later one too. There was a later
Loose Nut.
Loose Nut. There you go.
Yeah.
Not
And-
so good.
And I did the print work. I went in. They had a dark room up there, which I lived in it when I wasn't skating or engineering. I was living in the dark room. So I produced some prints. They printed out these flyers. I drove up to Hollywood, put on my skates, and I skated all over the place. Every single studio said, "Hey, we got this good, inexpensive, 16-track room here. And, I know you guys got all your famous, your big people. And they've got their record
Barry
deals.
Gibb or whatever.
Yeah, all the productions, the big productions. But you never know when a band that needs pre-production, cheap pre-production and demos needs someplace cheap. But this. Here we are." And, they noticed me. I'd roll into the offices of the skates. "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, I got this studio." And, of course, I'd ask to see every studio, and I'd go into this, talk to the engineers, pick the brain. "Oh, you've got a Neve. Oh, you've got a Harrison. Oh, tell me about, and all this stuff." So I learned a lot, and actually it got us business. There were a lot of people who needed an inexpensive room just for demos, and it worked.
And it's a few blocks from the beach.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a selling point.
Did that bring the Danger House bands down there?
I think Danger House was already there. And that was Gaza X coming in.
So Spot, you met me first, and afterwards you met Joe, right? So tell us about your interactions with Joe, and how did Joe come into SST? Since we're going around so this is like, I think Joe would be you met me first, and then Joe, and then Steve.
Well, I mean,
and then Stella?
actually, Steve, I met a long time before that. Actually.
Oh.
Maybe that's where you should start.
They're from the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
What's behind you and work your way around.
Yeah.
Because when I said from the beginning, I always wondered, how did you end up in Hermosa Beach?
Okay, well,
Yeah, exactly.
all right.
Exactly.
Okay. With that family behind me, I grew up pretty much in Crenshaw area. And
The ritzy part of it, Lamert part. Branding.
I don't know. Hey,
It was a nice house, I saw it.
back then it was cheap as hell. I mean, 'cause
Both houses where they live in are in the very nice area of
Yeah.
Lamert Park.
yeah, but it was like, yeah, and like.
But it's so strange that you guys wound up where you
Yeah.
did
Well,
to this day.
in the early '60s, that's when this block busting thing had gone on, and it had been pretty much a white neighborhood.
What's block busting?
It was okay. In LA, it was up to a certain point. There were these things called
Covenants.
covenant. Yeah, these covenant things where it was against the law to discriminate, but people could make agreements that they weren't going to sell to what they considered low income or low class people, and so
The line
they
was
kept
It was a red line.
they kept a
Yeah,
lot of
exactly.
minorities out, and then some real estate guys started block busting and just buying these homes and saying, well, let's just sell it to these new people.
Especially after the Second World War.
Exactly. And so, my dad, he, had been in World War II, GI Bill, had a family, needed a better house, and got the one that we got for, like I said, it was dirt cheap because he could do it. And so then the whole neighborhood started changing from there. But
The black folks started moving.
yeah, exactly.
They
It was-
did.
Exactly. That's
They
what it was
moved
about.
into
Yes,
a middle-class white neighborhood.
Yeah, and the whole suburban thing started
And
happening.
real estate agents could make money selling with all the change.
Yeah, yeah.
And they made a
But
lot
Steve
off of it.
Steve lived 2 blocks, literally 2 blocks away from me, 2 blocks east. And my cousin was going to play in this band, and I went over there.
That's right. Back and talked about the Harold.
Yeah, Harold.
Right?
Harold. My cousin
His
Harold.
cousin. You're right.
He was playing bass, right?
No, he was the guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And it was him and Eric were guitar players. And I was riding my bike one day in the alley. And I said, oh man, this is a band. They need a drummer.
Yeah.
And that's how we got together.
Right, and you guys had
The Magicians Band, right? And we had the little band we had.
I don't remember the name of the
Yeah,
band.
right. See, we didn't know each other back then. We didn't know
You
we were
used to
really-
go to all the shows. Every show he'd go to in LA.
But see, we didn't know each other back then, and we found out later that we were related.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a heavy thing, you know. Like years and years later, when Spot's mother passed away, we said, "Oh wow," we went to the funeral, and then I said, "Oh, why are you here?" And I said,
I was asking the same thing about you.
"Yeah," because his aunt is my mother's niece, so it made us like cousins.
Wanda.
But you guys didn't realize that.
We didn't realize
until
that.
the late 80s.
Yeah,
Or was it early 90s?
It was mid-90s
Yes.
when we finally realized, and we had run into each other in various
through the
things
years we
beforehand,
run each other,
you know,
yeah.
and had no clue. And then suddenly, oh, gee, you mean we're in the same family?
Well,
Whoa!
but that's funny you bring up Harold, because that was the very first band I ever played. I was like 14 years old.
What were you playing?
I was a drummer.
Okay.
You know, so I was going to talk to you about that actually. That was my first band.
Okay.
What year was that?
1968, 69 it was. And we did Soul Search and all the bands. But then, you know, whoa, huh?
Yeah. I was like contemplating kindergarten at the time.
And the first band I was ever in was with Joe and Louis Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Johnson 3+1 back then.
It could have been.
It was
And they
them.
had the brother Joe Johnson.
Yeah.
Right? You know Joe? Yeah. Okay. Well, he was. I mean, he was. We were
Louis
the
Johnson,
I never knew
the phenomenal
that.
bass player, was 11 years old.
I
You know
never
Louis
knew
Johnson
that.
is, everybody, right? Louis Johnson?
Who's that?
Brothers Johnson?
Yeah.
Louis Johnson.
They got a lot of really
He died
interesting
recently. And he was like,
people in their neighborhood.
they had a band called Johnson 3+1. They used to play at the YMCA on Santa Rosalia. And they were like, he was 11 years old. He was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was like they had these Tysco Del Rey guitars.
Right. They
And
got them from Soul Search because they won the Soul
Yeah.
Search.
And they were plugging up, it was back when you had, 3 guitars. Okay, we got this one amp. It was a
Right.
cheap little silver tone.
Right.
Everyone's in the amp.
Right.
You know? And I had figured, I had decided to play drums for, whatever reason. And we did this talent show at the school, which was,
High
Well,
school?
you went
No.
to the Catholic school.
the one right over, Transfiguration.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I was-
Oh, you went to the Transfiguration?
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
was there.
God.
Yeah, I was an altar boy the whole thing.
Let's say the best punk rock.
But in the first grade I learned this is all crap. So I'm just going to go through the motions here, and it was I guess it was worth it, but no, when I was in the 8th grade we did this variety show which was mostly people lip syncing and we came up with this thing, but I had rented a set of drums, and Joe Johnson, he got in on it, and his 2 brothers who were in the 5th grade joined in, and there was this other guy down the street from me, Timothy Evans, who was, now he was a guy with class. He had a harmony, a single pickup guitar, nice guitar for a harmony. And he had a Fender Vibro Champion. So he'd come over to my house and we'd just sit in the living room. I had the drums set up there and we'd just play. Just the 2 of us. He's just playing chords and I'm playing whatever rhythm.
Were these guys black or white?
Black.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So at this point, it was all black people.
Black people.
Not all, but it was.
Well, I'm just asking. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I
That's how
think
we
they're
feel.
asking the same question.
It was.
Because when I went to Spot's
6 of
house,
one,
it was
half
all
of the-
white people around there at that time.
Maybe.
Gentrification, no.
It is now, that's for sure.
No, it was like, I was like maybe 18 or 19. He was probably like 25. He wouldn't let me go see his parents. He didn't want some half Mexican guy to come in there.
He wouldn't let his parents see you.
That's more like it.
It is.
That's more like it. But But anyway, that was kind of like the first band, was with George and Louis Johnson and their older brother Joe and me, and we kind of trade off positions in the band, but we had these 4 or 5 guys who were like the 4 tops in front of us, and we're backing them up, and they're singing stuff like "My Girl" and all of that stuff, and we were like the only people out there actually playing music, and everybody else was lip syncing stuff. And it was.
But when they talk about the Johnson 3+1, you're not the +1.
No.
Okay.
No.
That was my cousin Alex. Alex was the 3+, was the 1.
For real.
For real. Yeah.
Well, your dad came by SST once.
Yeah.
Favorite.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I forget what that was about, but I want to
know.
And I think
Oh my God.
I needed some help from him for something, and I mean.
What, monetary?
I don't something.
You needed
probably,
a wrench to fix something?
Probably, but it's kind of like, hey, there's always the struggle. At least there was then, of convincing your parents that, hey, I'm actually really trying to do something to make some money, support myself, and it's hard. I know that you don't like it, but I'm trying. I'm having a hard time with it. But he had to come down to SST one day for something, and he came into the place.
Where?
We were on Phelan.
I'm sure Dukowski's stained underwear, which was nailed to the wall, really impressed her father.
Yeah.
He came in there.
Yeah. I didn't think it was a good idea.
Can you tell him what? It was about his.
Oh my God! Can you imagine?
Not easy.
Oh, actually, you know what it was. Okay,
I remember it.
let me backtrack. It was something. It was Regis had come down.
They don't know who Regis is.
Raymond Pettibone's dad.
Guess again.
Regis Ginn was there. Okay, actually, okay.
We're getting confused.
Okay, hold on. I'm confused too. The absolute details of this don't matter, but it was like my dad had to come down to help me with something, and Regis had come down to help Greg, I guess, with something. And I don't think Greg was anywhere there, but Regis says, "Oh, feed that child. He looks hungry," And
You got to tell him the story about it.
But it's like one of them left early, and then I think it might have been my dad left first, and then Regis came in, and well, whatever. My dad and Regis met, and they were they were both flyboys, because my dad did the P-51s, and Regis was on bombers. I don't know if he was a navigator or bombardier or something.
Yeah.
And so they started talking about airplane, World War II, and I think Regis may have been doing some stuff with the RAF. I don't know, but yeah. So
he was in Europe, right? He was European theater. That's for sure.
Yeah. It was all Europe.
So the most of them flew out of England.
Yeah. So that was kind of a, interesting thing that they met. I kind of wish I had remembered the conversation more, but
I remember your dad came to the door, and you were expecting him to come down, but none of us were. And I remember Mugger saying, "Hey, everybody, Spot's dad."
I don't remember that.
You went to shake his hand and you go, "Hi, Spot's dad," because of course we called you Spot, so we had no idea.
Oh my God. See, maybe you should have let Mugger in the house earlier. It would have made that whole scene.
Yeah, but you were trying. Oh man.
You guys got good memories.
They were outside on the sidewalk ultimately, Mr. Ginn and Mr. Lockett.
Yeah, that guy.
And talking war stories.
That's cool.
You can't blame them for not staying inside.
I don't. Yeah, they were having more fun outside. Yeah. So. Okay.
So, now Joe, so when did you meet Joe the first time? Because we're going around the room here and...
At the Unicorn office in Hollywood.
Unicorn, so that's before Phelan.
Oh, yeah.
So what year was that?
81. Wait a minute. It was,
Well, I was up in Berkeley really first when I met you guys. Not so much you, but the band and whoever was touring in the band.
okay.
You were probably there. I don't know if you remember going by Systematic where I was working.
Which was a distribution company.
Yeah, that's how I met the guys. And I remember going out to Ashby near the BART station so that the van would pick me up and then I'd direct them to Systematic, show them what I was doing with their records.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not have all been in the van, but Greg and Chuck in particular, I remember, so we were in a Systematic and it was closed, there's nobody else in there. So we were just comparing notes on records and I asked Chuck if he knew about the Dix 45, Dix 8 Police. And so immediately we knew we were on the same wavelength. We knew what probably was, you know, at that moment, the best 7-inch record anybody had put out.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew, I knew what was a good thing, and they knew that I wasn't just, you know, moving their records around. Because they only really knew that I could do something is because they, touring Eagle guys always checked the record stores and then would ask, how did you get our records? And it was always Systematic in the early years, except for LA, which you guys didn't need me up in Berkeley to be.
Yeah, Spot would just roller skate there with a bunch of records.
Right, yeah, that was all taken care
To
of.
Whittier and...
So at this point, right?
It was 1981.
Sure.
At the Unicorn office.
And even before that, on tour up there.
Right.
So at this point, like we're like touring, you know, with Black Flag. Spot was the sound man, I was the roadie, and we needed somebody to help us run our record label, which was SST. And so we're all thinking, who can do that? And that would be the guy that knows the Dix. And so that's why are you laughing?
Well, because now we're getting into kind of themes from your life. The guy who knows.
So anyways, we thought we need somebody to help us out. So that's when we brought Joe in, and then we went to Hollywood at Unicorn. And at that point, Greg wanted us to be. Greg wanted to record in a major studio, not that one back there, Media Art, because he felt that Media Art was not as good. So at this point we're in Hollywood on Santa Monica Boulevard, where all the rich people and all the good-looking girls. And so let's talk a little bit about that, Spot.
Well, that was a low part of history, really. I mean, because that was like after the SST in, what was it, Torrance? What street was it on?
It was in Main Street in Torrance, right?
Yeah, the one where the
cops came in and invaded that place because they thought we were dealing coke, because that's when Carlos Escobar, what's his name? Pablo Escobar, you know, the whole Colombian thing. And so they thought, because we had a particular Colombian that was playing drums with us, or drums with one of the bands at the time. And they kind of like putting 2 to 2 together.
Yeah,
So
they were convinced that we were doing something that wasn't right. I mean, and one of the things they thought is that we were trafficking young girls or something like that, which couldn't be farther from the truth.
we had Stella. We were trafficking.
Okay. But I mean, you know, there were all those girls that would come and visit. And I mean, nothing was happening. You know, well, I mean, nothing inappropriate, other than just
They were all over 18.
Yeah, that too. And so I mean, there were no prostitutes or anything like that. They were just these girls who were looking for someplace to hang out. And
one of them is on the Jealous Again, or two of them really are on the Jealous Again cover. Tertia and Medea, right?
Well,
those are representations of them.
Oh, okay.
Never realized that.
But they weren't the gals hanging out there. I mean, I was talking about some other, but I think you're right about that. And yeah, I mean, me and the band had gone off on tour. It was like about the beginning of summer '81, and the cops come in and they're like checking us out and nothing. They find nothing, and I had to stay there and close the place down while the band was on tour. And since I had it involved like moving tapes. I ended up moving like all the tape supplies over to my parents' house. Oh, there's my old closet. I'll put them in there. Okay, they said, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I flew out to Newark and joined the guys on the tour. That was when Dave Slut was singing. Yeah, and then when we came back to LA, there was no place to go. We're sitting out on the sidewalk, on the curb on Western and Beverly at a phone booth, and that was our office. And there was the TC house.
Hey, Spot.
Hey.
So tell us about these photos. We're getting to like the punk rock stuff, right? So who's Steve Martin and some of these photos over here? So tell us about that.
Okay, well,
right? I don't mean to like
right.
we are regressing, but
Well,
I looked around at the photos and I didn't even know you took those, bro. And
Okay,
so I'm
well-
thinking that's pretty amazing.
Okay, well, I'll just, a couple of them quickly. I mean, yeah, that's Steve Martin, 1970, sitting in with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band at the Troubadour when I thought he was the least funny comedian I'd ever seen.
Wow.
And then there's Stevie Wonder opening for the Rolling Stones, 72 at the Palladium. And all of, they all have stories that'll. All those photos have stories that I'm not gonna go into. I'll just
Yeah. Tell us about it. I think that most people here are punkers, so we want to talk about that over there, right? But we didn't know a lot about this, and this is amazing.
Not necessarily. That stuff is already known. We're talking about this kind of more cultural, like modern. Okay, listen. Okay.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask is we're on that wall of photographs, like the photographs of what was that taken at UCI? I'm looking at this modern building with the pillars. There's.
Which one are you talking about? What's the big one? Is that the one you're talking about?
No. There's smaller ones like that. You show people in a dance studio, and then there's
I see.
photographs of girls outside.
I think so.
That was last.
Look. That's a long time ago. I'm not going to remember exactly where it was. I think it was the L.A. County Museum of Art, where those the five girls with the hats and I think that was there. But the other band in the studio. I mean, they were song and dance bands, and with these two people up in Hollywood who needed photos, and I was starting to get a ground level reputation. I was the guy who would do for free and give them what they want. And I eventually started getting a little money. So you got to start somewhere.
What's the one in the large one? The guy that looks like Hendrix.
You mean the big one?
Yeah, the big one.
It's some band at a love-in at Elysian Park or
Love Dolls?
No, Levin.
It was just a love-in. 1970, Elysian Park, New Year's Day. And it was this, kind of like the whole end of the whole hippie thing.
Yeah,
Hippie,
like
hippie,
didn't they used to
hippie.
have those in Griffith Park too? Or
Yeah. So it was one of those two parks. I'm not sure which one. But anyway, no, but Mugger. Okay, we've established that me and Steve are from kind of a different racial background that most people think about. And I'll just say one thing. People wonder, well, which one is it? I just say I'm a mutt. I'm a non Asian mutt. Like the Irish was on my dad's side of the family, and my mom, her family were Creole Jewish who were Catholic. Now work that out for yourself. That's just where it all starts.
From New Orleans.
From New Orleans, yeah. But you, Mother.
No, so my mother's Mexican, right? And so I'm looking back at Spot's picture, and so it's kind of funny. I took her out. She's 82, and I took her out to dinner the other day, and she said when she was a kid, she was like carrying all the kids around, my brother and my sister, and they were like looking at her because we grew up in this suburb in Cerritos in Orange County, in LA, which was like 95% white, and the parents were looking at her and saying, "What's this Mexican girl doing with all these white children?" Right? And it's like, so that was my upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because like South Bay, growing up there from an Italian family, I felt very alienated. I felt like I never fit in because I wasn't blonde. We went to the beach every day in the summer. We had picnics at New Veterans Park right there by